I ranked all 154 Puskas nominees from worst to best. From solo runs showcasing better ball control than Ronaldo's trainer, to acrobatic finishes as realistic as YouTube thumbnails, the Puskas Award has highlighted the greatest goals of the past 2 decades. But amongst the best of the best, who takes the top spot? Welcome back to Ice Pack Sports, the internet's coldest football show. I'm your host Ian, and we're back with another Puskas video. Seeing how much you love the last one ranking every finalist, I'm gonna level it up and rank every single nominee, which is fantastic news because now regardless of what club, country, or federation you support, odds are my ranking's gonna piss you off. So let's jump right into it. At the very bottom of the list, we have 2 goals from FIFA's golden child himself. Messi has no lack of bangers to his name, so the fact that these 2 made the list just proves that FIFA has the closest relations with a GOAT since Garrincha. With one leg 6 centimeters shorter than the other, you'd think Garrincha would just end up going in circles like the defenders in these clips, but somehow that trait got passed down a few generations to another Brazilian right winger.
Helicopter, helicopter.
That's where the comparison ends. Unlike Garrincha and the attackers in these clips, Antony needs to spend more time beating his man and less time beating his woman. If you haven't noticed a trend with the first 5 goals in this list, FIFA has a pesky habit of shoehorning in a few goals from every major tournament, regardless of if they actually deserve it. If you can't tell by their placement on this list, I could care less about the significance of a goal. A banger's a banger, whether it's scored in a Champions League final or against a team that looks like a mid-text stroke. I will forever and always vouch for my local hardworking farmers, and no, I'm not just saying that because I'm still salty about Iniesta's goal against Chelsea. Whether referring to the state of the way they beat us, or the state of Iniesta's hairline, Drogba was speaking the truth.
Getting himself into further trouble.
And speaking of disgraces, next up is the first Puskas winner on the list, as well as the first goal scored outside of a major tournament. Big shout out to FIFA for setting the standard with their inclusive hiring policies, although I'm not sure extending their employment of the visually impaired from the refereeing department to the selection committee was really necessary.
I ain't seen nothing. Matter of fact, I'm blind in my left eye and 43% blind in my right eye. I don't see much of nothing.
With the next 6 goals right back to being scored at major tournaments, Sula's win is looking worse in hindsight than the Guardians' attempts at judging footballers' character. These are some nice strikes, don't get me wrong, but if they weren't scored at the World Cup or Euros, they'd be about as memorable as Fabinho's stint at Real Madrid.
Who?
And like Fabinho did with his move to Saudi, we're leaving the matches of significance behind for these next 4 goals, with one even going as far as being scored in a measly friendly. But even the blindest FIFA employee could tell you that these top bins rockets don't need any additional justification to make the list, proving a football to be the second most satisfying thing to watch fly into a corner. To back up that theory, we've got a pair of half-field finishes that would have been much higher on the list if they just flew right into the top corner. Unfortunately, they were fumbled in by goalkeepers that look about as comfortable with their arms as Ricky Bobby.
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
You can't blame these next goalkeepers, however, with their efforts being rendered useless after watching their team get torn apart, like Thierry Henry's heart finding out about Kate Abdo's engagement.
Ooh, you getting engaged?
Let you know later. Yes, I'm getting engaged.
These goals are beautifully worked, don't get me wrong, but nothing you couldn't see any given week from Wenger's Arsenal. Arsene genuinely had more issues zipping up his jacket than getting his team scoring goals like these. And despite football being a team sport, sometimes all that goes out the window when a player decides to take matters into their own hands. Again, these goals showcase some phenomenal dribbling, but these clips look more like something you'd see from those 3 pros versus 100 kids videos than professional matches. I mean, I've seen better defense from John Carews' lawyer, and if you don't know who that is, he's probably the only footballer in history to come away from a tax evasion trial with more than a slap on the wrist, let alone jail time.
Tax evasion is a crime? He said sorry, what more do you want? Order! Order! Yeah, I'll have a cappuccino, please.
We saw the significance merchants earlier on, but now we've got a group I'm gonna call novelty merchants. Nominations that were overhyped for scoring goals that you don't see often, so you assume are great goals. Like Balotelli's skill spamming while 6-0 up against Turkish relegation fodder, or Lamela hitting a Rabona because he's scared of shooting with his right. Just because something's more rare doesn't mean it's better, and Bayern Munich memorabilia from 1938 to 1945 is testament to that. Like Bayern with their history, these defenders are doing their very best to wipe these volleys from their memories, leaving their attackers in space, thinking there's no way they're going to score from there, just to watch the ball fly over their head into the back of the net. You can say the defenders did not see that coming. And like World War II, when England started enlisting roadmen, it was over before it even started for the opposition.
That's what you get, fam. Push you. Yeah, blood. Whose end are you coming to now, fam?
And like they did with the British in World War II, the Americans are following in, trying to claim responsibility for the freedom of these 2 free kicks. Except they just ended up confused, trying to make sense of the strange numbers that they were seeing on screen. Kilometers may not be universally understandable, but my measurement of choice for these next goals is... Scoring any bicycle or scissor kick is impressive, but as far as acrobatic goals go, these ones are as hard to watch as American World Cup commercials.
It's called soccer. Go USA.
I know if I attempted any of these, I'd end up paralyzed from the neck down, but that doesn't change the fact that these are painfully mid. And speaking of mid, we're breaking into the mid-table with a group of long shots that got further from the net with every strike, covering the full range of techniques from first-time bar-down sledgehammers to free kicks that more closely resemble heat-seeking missiles, all sharing the common goal of trying to embarrass keepers from as far as possible. They just kept going until we saw Kakano launching the ball from well into his own half, hitting it so hard that the ball barely even arced before nestling into the back of the net. These strikes were arguably the biggest long shots since Adama Traore claiming he doesn't work out. And with the rocket pace and pinpoint accuracy, these strikes were as hard to stop as Adama himself after being glazed up in a fresh coat of Spain's finest olive oil. Moving on, we've got 4 chips so fine they call for some fresh guac made to order on the side. Not even these chips are safe from American imperialism, however, with Americanized Mexican joints lining up to serve a plate of these for $25 underneath a neon sign saying "Tacos make me horny." If you thought we were done with the long shots, you'd be mistaken. We've got 4 more strikes that were hit so hard they didn't even need to catch the keepers off their line. They just ripped it into the top corner regardless. With that level of shot power, these strikers' calves must be more developed than some countries. With the next 3 nominees showing how acrobatic goals are supposed to be done, and putting on a masterclass in creative finishing from the edge of the box, these players' egos must be inflating as fast as those same countries' currencies. That's not the only thing inflating rapidly though, so are my lungs trying to watch these next few inclusions. Half the time I'm out of breath just trying to go up a flight of stairs, so I can't even imagine trying to find the energy to make one of these runs mid-game. This whole group of players pick up the ball well within their own half and run just about the entire length of the pitch, all while slaloming through the opposition like Manuel Neuer on the ski slopes. These runs ended a little better though, with the players leaving with a composed finish at the end instead of a broken leg. With Son's goal winning the Puskas Award just 1 year before Lamella's Rabona, the Puskas Award is clearly the only route a Spurs player can take to ever touching a trophy.
It's the history of the Tottenham.
That fact might sting a little bit for Spurs fans, but not as bad as these goalkeepers, who met the same fate as a complacent Australian who forgot to shake out their slipper before putting it on and got stung by a scorpion. If you thought those were creative uses of back heels, these next 4 are even better. Of course, featuring the back heel king himself, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, pulling out moves only possible by a footballer with a black belt. With the sheer number of back heels this guy scores, goalkeepers must react the same way to him winding up his leg to Cats when Kurt Zouma does the same.
More press sending it in, and it's off the post and in for 2. Zouma doubling West Ham United's lead.
Cats aren't the only things being booted around here though, with these goalkeepers wishing they too had 9 lives after being humiliated by these perfectly struck volleys. These strikes all share a near musical fashion with the way the ball is being popped around as if to a rhythm, watching their team get played through as if in a training drill before seeing the ball fly into the top corner. These keepers were definitely left hearing some music too, although I have a gut feeling that it's to a slightly different tune. The next set of volleys remove the setup entirely and just rip it in first time. With Toronto being on the receiving end for the 2nd time on this list, that's somehow as good as it gets in the footballing world for us. With the biggest news coming out of Toronto recently, that we give a mean hair transplant according to Antonio Conte. These volleys were nearly impossible to save, coming from tighter and tighter angles, just like the hairlines we bring back to life. And it's only fitting to close out a section with martial arts-esque moves with a roundhouse kick from Zlatan. It really is just a matter of time before Zlatan gets his own action movie in retirement. And similar to those fight scenes where the main character somehow survives despite fighting off entire hordes of enemies, these solo goals break all common sense, with the attackers wriggling through entire teams like they're not even there. Just when you think there's no way forward, they pull some magic from out of nowhere, like La Masia whenever Barcelona is going through an injury crisis. With the way these kids are performing, Xavi must be giving them the preferential treatment of Gordon Ramsay.
Come back.
What happened?
It's because your pan's up really high, so turn that down. Now that's what I call a flambe, but we need this kitchen. Please don't burn it down. Oh my God, leave it! Just f***ing leave it! They're gonna blow fire in your face, you f***ing donkey!
With the amount of times these defenders were getting cooked, they're looking less like footballers and more like a dish served on Hell's Kitchen.
The duck's burned! You're cooking in a burnt pan, you f***ing dick!
As for the chefs themselves, we have a collection of Streets Won't Forget icons, from the likes of Nasri and Ben Arfa for their times at Arsenal and Newcastle, to Saul for his legendary stint at Chelsea. Most of these players' careers failed to reach any special heights, but that can't take away from the clinics they put on in close ball control. No doubt, these were the clips professors were tossing on screen at Matoma's PhD classes. I'm no academic, but these clips even have me feeling like I can walk onto the pitch looking like prime Messi, as opposed to prime Yorli Smena. But the best of them all was from Sungjin Kang, the 3rd Korean on the list. Korea was so happy with the recognition that these inclusions were getting them that they went ahead and gave everyone an extra year of life. You could give most players an entire extra year of attempts to pull any of these off and they still wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, it took one of the greatest players of all time nearly his entire career to score a bike, and Ronaldo's an athletic freak who jumps like his legs are spring-loaded. I can't even imagine what would happen if a player like Reece James attempted any of these.
Some guys have all the luck, I was born with glass bones and paper skin.
Chelsea would be better off terminating his contract at that point. He would quite literally put England's entire economy on his back with the hospital bills he'd be racking up. Forget a hospital though, these next goals are tossing the entire opposition team straight into retirement home. The only sweet thing these defenders are going to be seeing for the rest of their days is the sweet connection of these volleys replaying in their minds. To even attempt, let alone score a first-time volley directly off a corner takes a level of unwarranted confidence only matched by Troy Deeney on a podcast.
Is Harry Kane a better footballer than Troy Deeney? Can he head a ball better than me? No. Can he control the ball better than me? Like look after it when there's two men on his back? No. He can't do what I can do.
And if for some twisted reason first-time volleys directly off corners aren't impressive enough for you, we've got two first-time volleys directly off goalkeeper clearances from half field. These strikes flew right over the goalkeeper's head like jokes with AFTV Robbie.
Professor said it should be called come inside a bit.
That's not right. You've
been done.
And like Robbie after an Arsenal beatdown, Falcao and Alexi were laughing their way to the bank with these finishes. Considering one of them is literally missing a leg, these scissor kicks were a free ride to superstardom, like life under Emery for AFTV. Unlike most nights for Arsenal fans under Emery, Stephanie Roche definitely had a good evening after scoring this banger. The intricate touches, flick, and finish were almost as satisfying to watch as Emery's revenge tour at the Emirates.
Good evening.
Good evening.
If you thought Stephanie's first touch was gross, Fabian's was even better, killing the ball out of the sky with a stickier touch than speed watching a Ronaldo compilation, before turning on a dime and perfectly finding the top corner. Having already made the list for conceding to a Rooney bicycle, Joe Hart makes his return, getting done by an even better acrobatic finish. Joe made a bit of a habit out of getting done by wonder strikes, and fortunately he didn't have a ball boy to take it out on this time. Gaspar's bike looked difficult, but efforts from Shuri and Bale make it look like child's play in comparison. Both had bad crosses fizzed into them at the edge of the box, having them running backwards to retrieve before pulling out miracles to put them into the back of the net. In case you forgot what he did during his time at West Ham, Paya pulled out this 1 in a million half volley to show everyone what he's still capable of. It really feels like this guy gets thawed out once a year to score one of the best goals you'll ever see, the same way that Anthony Taylor does for Chelsea's big games. Chelsea fans have a visceral reaction hearing Anthony Taylor's name, and these keepers must feel the same way hearing Biaya and Lazzaro's. Conceding a scorpion is one thing, but doing it from the edge of the box would be enough to push most people over the edge. Continuing on with the improvised finishing from the edge of the box, we've got this insane mid-air backheel from Quagliarella. It really feels like this guy's been around since the beginning of time, with the sole purpose of putting together the greatest highlight reel ever. Another player like Quagliarella who feels like they've been around forever is Andros Townsend. And if his entire career was solely building for this volley against City, it was worth it. And he went through all that just to be one-upped by Njeng, pulling off the same connection just 20 yards back. And the final boss of them all, Billy Simpson, first time volleying directly off a goal kick from her own half. With the goalkeeper barely even off her line, the odds of pulling this off were as microscopic as the odds of seeing a Newcastle fan wearing a shirt. Another goal hinging on microscopic margins was Hisato Sato's, who watched Thierry Henry's wonder goal against Man United and said, "I can do you one better," flicking up and volleying in a perfect strike that dipped faster than Klopp seeing Pep's shiny bald head.
And
Pep Guardiola's coming.
I don't want to blame Pep, but this trend of goalkeepers needing to be good with their feet has gone too far. I simply refuse to believe that a goalkeeper scored an overhead kick to equalize in the last minute, and I'm not sure how, but this is his fault. Equally as believable, we have Modfai Subiri's free kick, which curved in a way that distorted reality and is the biggest mystery to come out of Malaysia since Flight 370. Now before I reveal the top 10, quick reminder to subscribe, as each subscriber represents a fan in the Ice Pack Stadium, and I dream of filling the biggest stadium in the world. We currently reside in the Estadio Regional de Chinchiwe in Chile, but as soon as we outgrow it, we can move on to something even more exciting, so let's push for that upgrade. In 10th place, we have Linus Helenius with a flick and volley so perfect, it cemented his place as the greatest Serbian prior to the up-and-coming AC Milan star, Novak Djokovic.
I'm the new AC Milan.
I do.
I haven't played yet, but I'm getting on the next game.
You are? Let's get it. Turn on there.
In 9th place, we have another Milan player, Felipe Mexis. Yes, that one, the center back, cosplaying as an attacker and adding to his odd list of surprising bangers. In 8th place, we have another goal directly off of a corner from Hamit Altintop. The only explanation for the speed behind this strike is that he managed to harness the power of Turkish fans in players' comment sections.
Come to Besiktas. I am coming to Besiktas.
In 7th place, we're coming full circle with Messi's dazzling solo run versus Athletic Bilbao. The list started with Messi, so it only makes sense to find him up near the top as well. Covering as much ground on the pitch as he did on this list, Messi blazed past his defenders, just like he did with Harry Kane's English-speaking abilities.
What's up? My friend has invited us to watch the big game online.
In 6th place, Hurtado connected with one of the most impressively timed finishes you'll ever see. To pull off a bicycle at that pace, Hurtado was tiptoeing the threshold of reality, the same way Rudiger tiptoes the threshold of antagonizing and seducing his opponents. In 5th place, we have a solo run that toyed with the opposition more than Rudiger could ever dream to. Dancing through the opponents with ease, Grafite put on the biggest humiliation in Munich since Lewandowski's TikTok account. In 4th, we have Riley McGree, who topped off a beautiful team play with a flicked scorpion to chip the keeper from outside the box. Only fitting that Australia's best ever goal is right on theme in the form of a lethal scorpion. In 3rd place, we've got one of the greatest team play goals ever scored from Kevin Prince Boateng during his time at Las Palmas. Who knows what possessed those players on that day, but my hunch is that Zlatan transferred some of his goal-scoring magic to Kevin during their time together at Milan. In 2nd place, we have a bar-down scorpion from Giroud that's about as close to art as football comes. Everything about this goal fell together perfectly and added on to Palace's reputation as the place to go if you want to score a banger. Only one man could have stopped that, and unfortunately for Palace, it was the one shooting it. And finally, for the top spot, we have Ibrahimovic's game-breaking bicycle against England. Poor Joe Hart caught out yet again by the 3rd bicycle on this list. Clearly the man's got a bit of a weakness, apart from his musical ability and the fact that his real name is Charles.
Cause it's decent! Every day I'm shuffling.
If you watched the previous Puskas video, you'd know that Zlatan held the top spot, and even after adding an additional 112 goals, no one could displace the king. And that wraps up our list. If you made it this far, you can officially say you've seen every single Puskas nomination in history. Let me know in the comments where you think I got it wrong, and as always, thanks for watching, and stay icy.